through his days. So my job as a hypnotherapist has been to help him get that self-confidence back, to get rid of that fear. It's so bad that he fears going out of his house. And he hasn't been out of his house for quite a few months now, and he had the courage to phone me and ask me if I could help. So I do go and visit clients. They don't only come and see me at my therapy room, but I do house calls, because obviously there is a need for some people who are so fearful and stressed. So I try and help where I can. So these are the issues that we're really trying to resolve, and we need to know what those issues are so that we can deal with them with the counselling and the hypnotherapy. So, thank you. So the behaviour then, if we link it all together, the behaviour for those issues becomes either drinking too much alcohol, smoking too much as well. I've helped young men give up cannabis who have found that they can't continue their lives. The problem is that a lot of young people start drugs when they're 14, peer pressure. And of course it's very difficult to give up. And what can they do if it's spoiling their lives and they really don't know how to deal with it? So the emotional pain then, cocaine of course is a heavier drug, and I'm very pleased that I've been able to help people stop any of these drugs and the alcohol. Because the emotional pain, we have to remember, is something that can be transferred into illness. If we don't deal with our emotional difficulties, then that can transfer to our bodies and we become ill. So I always think about Bruce Lipton, who was a medical doctor who did some research into cell biology, and he discovered that every cell in our body has energy, that we are not just matter, we are soul, spirit, we are energy. So if our energy is negative, our thoughts are negative, then they could eventually long-term transfer into illness. So it's very important that we only hold positive thoughts. Thank you. So is there a solution? As we realize, the main problem is in our thought processes, and we have to change those. We have to change those to change our feelings and change the behavior. So there's Carl Jung at the bottom there. Carl Jung said that there has to be a deep spiritual experience in order to change these particular behaviors of addiction. Now, I do believe that. Also, Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill W. had a spiritual experience which led him to start the whole Alcoholics Anonymous movement. And I believe that the hypnotherapy can help towards that. I leave that for you to think about your own conclusions. Could I have the next one? Thank you. Just going a little bit back in history to realize that it's not a modern problem. We've got Bill W. at the bottom, who started this in about the 1930s, helping people to give up alcohol. But St. Augustine also had a problem, 426 AD. Even in the Roman period, there was a huge amount of indulgence, shall we call it. And even Noah, he had a problem with the wine. So it's just to lighten it a little bit. that we're not alone. It's been going on for a very, very long time. Thank you. So, thinking about the spiritual side of things, I thought it might be interesting just to put a slide in here about the chakras, particularly because we're in India. But I do have a belief. I do believe that we need to be very cognizant of our energy centers and the way they affect us. Now, the sacral chakra, which is the second chakra, is about partnerships, and it also includes addiction. So I've put up here the negatives and the positives of the sacral chakra, looking at, for example, the martyr archetype as an example, where people are feeling that they're unloved. That is one of the issues for addicts that want to anesthetize themselves. They don't feel they're worth it. Maybe something in their childhood was an issue where they didn't feel loved. I do know of one person who became an alcoholic, and delving into the past, the parents, he went to private school, and when the holidays came up, he was palmed off onto an auntie. They weren't really interested in him, and he felt unloved. They were more interested in partying, really. And so it's had that effect. And it snowballs as well, because he ended up marrying an alcoholic, and very, very difficult for him to overcome the issues. And it's also about looking within and having self-love. But many, many people these days don't even think about it. They don't think of the spiritual aspects. So I've put a list of the negatives and the positives. So we're trying to change the negatives into positive thought. Manipulation of others, I think, is a key issue that I've found. People that want to control others. Jealousies, maybe codependent relationships, unable to face the world alone. Need for approval. Maybe you can see some sort of reality here. And then moving over to the positive, I like to say stepping into the light of self. It's about going on that journey to find yourself and encouraging that person to do that, to find their own reality and believe and love themselves. So it's the joy of being who you are. Am I all right? I know I mustn't go over time. Right, so there again, anger and fear. Anything negative can cause illness eventually, and we have to think about people's illnesses, whatever they are, what is it emotionally and mentally that has helped to bring that about. Right, so I better press on, I think. Okay, to this hypnotherapy then. How does the hypnotherapy help? I call hypnotherapy a fast track. And you'll be able to talk about that too. I call it a fast track. We can counsel and counsel and counsel, but hypnotherapy goes right to the root and is able to change people's lives very quickly. And I believe that acceptance of wanting to change what you do is a spiritual awakening. And hypnotherapy, I also think, can be a channel or a key to opening that awareness. Because for somebody to come and see me, they have to have had some deep feeling about the need to change. Otherwise, they wouldn't phone me up and make an appointment, that they feel that the change has to happen for them. So it's the desire to change. With hypnotherapy, you can't change anything. You don't take any notice of the stage hypnotherapists. This is clinical hypnotherapy, there to help people change, to make their lives better. So they have to have a desire to change. They must want it to happen, otherwise it doesn't matter what we say as hypnotherapists, it won't happen. The spiritual intervention, because you're actually going on a journey and talking to your inner self. I call it the meditative state rather than the hypnotic state, because I think it's very much like meditation for the person who experiences it. Thank you. So hypnotherapy is a key. Be aware that our subconscious is our fight or flight mechanism. It does protect us. So if we have habits, it will continue those habits until we tell the subconscious, actually, you don't have to do that anymore. It's fine. This person wants to continue their life without doing it. The conscious will is not strong enough. We need to tell the subconscious this change must happen. And as I've said, I say it's the meditative spiritual state rather than the hypnotic state. I think hypnosis tends to frighten many people. But my experience is the people that come to have the hypnotherapy with me find it a very wonderful experience, which is heartening. Right, so I've just got a little model here that sort of brings it all together. Yeah, nearly finished, yes. The mind, the affect and the behavior, which is the other slides that I was talking about. You've got an imbalance between the cognitive thought and the feelings. So we need to change the cognitive thought to bring balance to the behavior. And of course our spirit and soul are part of what aids the change, all right? That's within us. And so we need to get that fluidity and balance and change the negative behavior into positive. So I think it's the last slide. Yes, just to show you here the positives, the positive feelings and the positive statements, the affirmations that can result from the hypnotherapy session. The shadow of the self, in that hypnotic state, in that meditative state, connecting with the inner being. Coming out of it and feeling good, and coming out of it and saying, I no longer will smoke, I no longer will drink alcohol, I'm drug-free. Okay, thank you.